Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the John Campea Show here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and it's an honor and a privilege to have you guys joining me here today, especially since it's a Saturday, your day off, you're relaxing, and I'm honored that you wanted to get together with a bunch of other film fans and just talk about movies, maybe a little bit of TV, a little bit of whatever else you guys want to talk about as well. This is how today's show is going to go. I've picked out 4 topics that you guys have emailed in to me. How do you email in a topic or a question for the John Campea Show? It's simple. You email me anytime at john@thejohncampeashow.com. Put the word topic in the subject line, and as always, guys, keep those emails to 90 words or less. Once we get through those topics, I'm going to take some of your live questions today. I'm going to cut the show a little bit short today, and I'm going to let you guys know right now that normally we also have a John Campea Show on Sunday, and of course Star Wars talk on Sunday as well. There's going to be no programming on Sunday. So no Star Wars talk, no John Campea Show. It's actually my wife Anne's birthday weekend, and after we're done the show today, she and I are going to take off down to San Diego for a couple of days and just hang out to celebrate her birthday, and I'll, of course, be back for the John Campea Show on Monday morning. Just giving you guys the heads up on that. Okay, with that out of the way, let's jump into the first topic today. And the first topic today comes to us from our Patreon supporter, Jermaine Sneed, who writes, "Can you settle a debate for me? Is saying a movie has a twist a spoiler? I mean, if I tell you, spoiler alert, here, maybe. The Sixth Sense has a twist, but not the actual twist. Is that a spoilery? I think you mean or does it alter the viewing experience because now the person is looking for it and that's enough?" Yeah, I've had this debate with people myself, man, about whether or not, first of all, there are some people that just think anything you tell them about a movie is a spoiler. If I say to somebody, yeah, there's this one scene where the characters are in a diner eating. Spoiler! It's like, wait, what? You consider that a spoiler? I mean, this is the tricky thing. We talk about this sometimes. What makes spoilers so tricky is the fact that everybody has a different definition of spoiler. And that's what makes the issue of spoilers in the film fan community such a tricky road to navigate. It's because there is no one common shared understanding or shared definition of what a spoiler is and what a spoiler is not. So you can have a group of friends where you totally have a safe set of rules about this is what a spoiler is, this is what it isn't. Then you can be talking to some other people about movies and you can say something that in one group of friends is totally not considered a spoiler, but somebody else might freak out and go, "Oh, you just gave away a spoiler." So, I mean, you could literally say about the next, Avengers Infinity War, okay, look, well, there's this one scene where Captain America is talking to Thor, and, oh, spoiler, now I know Captain America and Thor talk to each other. Like, they take it to that extreme. Some people think a spoiler is only that one piece of information that would be given at the very end of the movie that just reveals the whole thing about the movie. And some people think only that is a spoiler, and that there's nothing else is a spoiler. You can tell somebody, anybody, anything else about a movie, and it's not a spoiler. And I don't live in either of those two extremes. Like, my definition of spoiler, if there's something majorly significant that fundamentally alters the way you view the movie, period, contrary to the storytelling nature that the director or the filmmakers intended, that's a spoiler. So what about the specific situation? What if you, it's just talking about, okay, so there's a twist in the film and blah, blah, blah. Is that a spoiler? I reject that. I don't think that's a spoiler at all. Because of this. Every single movie has a twist. Some have major mind-bending twists. Some have, the hero comes home and finds that his wife is sleeping with his best friend. That's a twist. I mean, when you really understand what a twist in the movie, it's something that alters the course and the understanding of the film, right? That happens in every movie, to some degree or another. To some degree or another, the literal definition of a twist happens in just about every single movie. So to say there's a good twist or there's a bad twist or whatever, to me, that's not revealing anything. Because every movie at some point, any movie worth its salt, takes a turn that the audience wasn't expecting. Or that the characters weren't expecting. And therein, that's the twist. Now, it can be a super major twist, like a Sixth Sense. And you find out, and by the way, spoiler alert for those of you who've not seen Sixth Sense, but, finding out that Bruce Willis was a ghost all along. Okay, that fundamentally alters the direction of this, that, or the other thing. But I mean, every movie has some kind of element of that. So to say there's a twist, I've never, just like I don't consider saying, you know, there's this one car chase in the movie. Oh, it's a spoiler. No, tons of movies have car chases. And I'm not telling you anything about the car chase. I'm not telling you where the car, but I'm just saying there's a car chase in the movie. To me, that's not a spoiler. Now, again, what makes this damn thing so difficult is that everybody has different definitions. And so, somebody like me, I've got two choices. Choice number one, talk about nothing. Because anytime I say anything about a movie, somebody out there, that triggers their definition of what a spoiler is. No matter what. I could say anything. Anything. Like, man, I really love the chemistry between Shuri and T'Challa in Avengers Infinity War. Somebody out there, that will cross the line with what their definition of a spoiler is. Somebody out there, that crossed their line. Because now we know that there are some significant scenes between Shuri and Black Panther. Now, I wanted to go into Avengers clean and not even know that. Okay. But you got to understand that not everybody has the same definition of spoiler as you. I wouldn't consider that piece of information a spoiler. Most people wouldn't consider that one piece of information a spoiler. So, like somebody like me, I've got two choices. Choice number one, say nothing. Say nothing. At the risk that somebody out there, it's going to cross their line of what a spoiler is. Or my other choice is, look, let everybody know what my definition of spoiler is and then stay consistent to my own definition of spoiler. And if you can't live with that, then you got to find somebody else to watch. Because there's nothing else I can do except to live by what I think my definition of a spoiler is. So you can know what to expect when that happens. Now, look, I'm as human as anybody. Even though I have a clear kind of a defined set of rules to what I think a spoiler is or isn't, even I will accidentally slip sometimes. Everybody does. We all do. I'm no exception to that. Sometimes even I'll slip and break even what I consider to be a spoiler rule. I mean, it happens. But whenever you talk to anybody about movies, that might happen. But anyway, getting to your specific point there, does just saying that there's a twist in the movie, is that just that information alone, is that a spoiler? I don't consider that a spoiler because I believe just about every movie has a twist in it to one degree or another. To me, it's no different than saying there's this one conversation where the characters are talking to each other. Well, every movie has characters talking to each other. So, I mean, that's just the way I define it. But then again, you guys may define it differently, and that's what makes this spoiler thing so tricky. Anyway, it's a good question, man. All right, let's move on. The next question today comes to us from Steven. And Steven writes, did you hear that Uwe Boll, and by the way, guys, it is actually pronounced Uwe, as if it was spelled U-V-A. It is Uwe Boll. I actually sat down and chatted with the man once, and he specified it's Uwe. Uwe Boll. Anyway, do you hear that Uwe Boll went off on the new Rampage movie saying, and I quote, Uwe Boll off, then you get this... then you get the tribunals, and is threatening to sue Warner Brothers. This guy is a Class A asshole. Thanks, and bring on the filthy. All right, so Uwe Boll, probably the poster child for horrible filmmaking. And I'll be honest with you once. I met the man once, and he was debuting a film. It was one of his video game-based movies, like In the Name of the King. It was the name of the movie, hyphen, In the Name of the King. And anyway, it had Jason Statham, and I can't remember exactly the name of the movie. But anyway, he was debuting his movie at a Toronto Film Festival. So I was there, and they invited me to come early and sit down with Uwe in his hotel and chat with him for about a half hour. This is back when I was still doing the movie blog. And I thought, are you kidding? Of course I'm going to go and sit down with Uwe Boll. Are you crazy? Of course I am. Who wouldn't want to do that? So I went and sat down with the man, expecting an absolute raving lunatic. And I'm just going to be honest with you, okay? He was a fun dude to hang around for a half hour. I know, look, we all want to trash on Uwe Boll, and I get it. I totally do. But I have to be honest with you. The 25 to 30 minutes I just sat down with him, it was a really enjoyable, fun conversation. And he was refreshingly blunt and very open about stupid things he's done and stupid things people have done on the sets of the movies he was working on. And I just got to tell you, look, I'm not going to lie, he's not a good filmmaker, but I'm just going to be honest with you. It was I enjoyed my time with him. I really did. I really enjoyed sitting down and having that chat with him. But at any rate, I always kind of think of Uwe Boll as your buddy who just loves movies. And believe it or not, this dude loves movies. He loves movies. Think of him as your buddy who really loves movies and would love to make movies, but has no business making movies. But then that buddy of yours actually has access to a whole bunch of money and can actually do it. Not a real filmmaker, but he has the ability to go and make these movies. So he just does it. And that's kind of Uwe Boll. I mean, that's Uwe Boll in a nutshell. Anyway, so here's the thing. This is what's going on. This is what they're asking about right now. So Rampage is coming out, and it stars Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, right? Based on a very, very old video game by the same name, Rampage. Here's the thing. Back in 2009, Uwe Boll made a movie called Rampage that had nothing to do with the video game. And then he made 2 subsequent sequels to it as well, like straight to DVD fare, right? So Uwe Boll, I don't know what he's thinking, but he's basically accusing Warner Brothers of stealing his name and all this kind of stuff. Basically, let's take a look at this. This comes from the report. Boll's personal website contains a statement that reads this, and follow along with me. This is worth it. Uwe Boll is currently reviewing his, he speaks in the third person. Uwe Boll is currently reviewing his options to pursue litigation against motion picture studio Warner Brothers and producer New Line for using his brand, Rampage, as the title for the upcoming motion picture starring Dwayne Johnson, also known as The Rock. Boll released 3 original Rampage movies in 2009, 2014, and 2017. This movie trilogy has a quick turnaround, amassing large cult following on DVD and entities like Netflix. Now he goes on, all right, so we are living now in a world where independent movies are dead and the big players only are making all the money. That they then use developed brands and ideas from established series such as my Rampage films in order to make even more money is unfair but typical. The new Rampage movie will sync my brand and my revenues I can make in the future with my Rampage movies. It also confuses the audience. Now, here's the thing about this whole situation. If there wasn't this old video game that this movie is clearly based on, that old video game called Rampage, the 3 giant monsters going around destroying cities. If this wasn't based on that game, I would probably actually say, you know what? He's overreacting a little bit, but Uwe Boll has a point. I mean, if, like, Warner Brothers just came out and The Rock just came out with this movie and they just called it Rampage, the same name as the movies he's putting out just a couple years ago. Granted, Rampage is a common word still, but he would at least have a point. You could maybe sort of see where he's coming from and saying, this Dwayne Johnson, now there's a big Hollywood studio making the film of the same name, that's going to hurt my brand with my movies. Well, he would have he wouldn't be right, but he would have a point. But the fact of the matter is, there is a video game that was around long before Uwe Boll's movies called Rampage that this movie is based on. If anybody could sue anybody else for stealing a name, it would be the people who own the rights to the video game could sue Uwe Boll for stealing their name. This Rampage franchise, which Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is now starring in, has technically been around long before Uwe Boll's movie. And that's where this gets a little bit crazy. And it's not like Uwe Boll doesn't know the video game industry. Uwe Boll knows very well. He loves his video games. He knows video game history. He knows there's a video game called Rampage that this movie is based on. I have no idea. Here's the only thing I can guess. My only thought here is that Uwe Boll knows full well that there's a video game that this movie is based on. He knows full well that Warner Brothers and Dwayne Johnson have not stole his name. He knows that completely. I think what you are seeing from Uwe Boll right now is a little bit of mad genius pulling a stunt like this to draw attention to his Rampage movies. Because, look, let's be honest with you. 90% of you watching this video right now have never heard of Uwe Boll's Rampage movies. You've never even heard of it. But guess what? You have now. And I'm willing to bet there's about 10% of you are watching who are now at least morbidly curious to jump on Netflix and let's see this movie he's talking about. Huh? Come on, let's be honest. There's probably at least 10%, maybe more, who are at least a little bit morbidly curious now to jump on Netflix and see what this movie is that he's going and raving about right now, right? I think this is a publicity stunt. I think this is Uwe Boll pulling a pure publicity stunt just to draw attention to his Rampage movies. It's not a classy way to do it, no, but guess what? Here we are on the John Campea Show talking about Uwe Boll's Rampage movies, whereas we never would have before. So is it dumb? Yes. But is it that dumb? Because it kind of worked. So, I don't know, maybe he's just a little bit of a mad genius, who knows. All right, let's move on to the next topic. And the next topic today comes to us from Dan Sokolov, well, I always mispronounce his name, Sokolov, who writes, do you think franchises kill actors' careers after they end? No one is talking about Christian Bale after The Dark Knight. Toby McGuire disappeared after Spider-Man. Pretty much everyone has disappeared after the Lord of the Rings movies. Do you think the same fate awaits Robert Downey Jr.? Well, I mean, let's back up just a little bit for a second here. Okay, let's just back up just for a moment. Nobody's talked about Christian Bale since The Dark Knight? Are you being serious? I think he's had like 2 Academy Award nominations since The Dark Knight. Let's see, hold on a second. He was just in that movie Hostels that everybody loved. He was in The Big Short. He was one of the leads in The Big Short that got nominated for Best Picture, I believe. He was in American Hustle that got nominated for Best Picture, and he got nominated, I believe, for Best Actor in that. I might be mistaken about that, but I thought he got nominated for that. Could be wrong. He did that great film, Out of the Furnace, that he did very well. He's done no less since the last Batman movie. He's done no fewer than 7 feature films. That's a little bit ahead of the pace of 1 feature film a year. I don't know that we can say, oh, nobody's talked about Christian Bale or given him any real roles since The Dark Knight. Yeah, they have. Yeah, they have. He's still a very sought-after actor. But I remember the last time that we interviewed him, he was talking about, he very specifically talked about, actually, it was for when he did the movie Out of the Furnace. I was still at AMC, and we had somebody interview him, and he said in his interview with us that basically, you know, going forward, I really want to I don't need to do blockbusters anymore. Not that he was against doing a blockbuster, but he goes, I don't need blockbusters anymore. Like, now I'm in a position, he said, I'm very lucky right now to be in a position that I get to choose just stories that really interest me and make those movies. And so that's why you've got a guy like Christian Bale who's done a lot of these smaller films, because smaller but great films, because he's in a position that as an actor, he can do that. And I guess he's not hurting for money. He's probably really good with his money. And he's just kind of in a position that he can do that, which is fine. And if he decides to do a blockbuster, he does a blockbuster. Toby McGuire is another one, but Toby McGuire, it's not like before Spider-Man that Toby McGuire was a big, huge A-list superstar in Hollywood. You knew his name, but it's not like he was this big, massive star before it came along. So you can't actually say Spider-Man hurt his career. Well, his career right now, though I don't think he's done a film since like 2014 when he did that chess movie, Fisher, where he played Fisher. Can't remember the name of the movie off the top of my head. But he's done a couple things, but then took a break. I just think he decided to get out of acting for a while. And I think he did a voice in Boss Baby, if I'm not mistaken, just for the fun of it. But there was that. But like somebody like Robert Downey Jr., remember, his career was over before Marvel. Because he had basically fallen out of grace twice. And he pretty much ruined his career twice before Jon Favreau came along and gave him the role of Tony Stark. But he was a celebrated actor before that. You know, he's got this Doolittle movie coming out that's going to be pretty big. He'll probably do another Sherlock Holmes. Nah, it hasn't ended his career. But here's the thing. To suggest that these big successful franchises ended their careers, that is suggesting that they had great careers going before that franchise. And I'm going to suggest to you that, like, before Marvel came along, Robert Downey Jr.'s career was pretty much done. I mean, he did that... what was that one that was basically animated? I think Keanu Reeves was in it too. I know Keanu Reeves. Why am I I was just talking about this movie the other day. I forgot. But anyway, he had done a couple of smaller things. But for all intents and purposes, his career was done. So it's not like Marvel came along and that ruined the rest of his career because his career wasn't going anywhere at that point. Now it will. Robert Downey Jr. will have a career, not nearly as big with the MCU, but once he's done with the MCU, whenever that is, I think that's still probably 5 years away. But whenever it's done, he'll still have a career. It still will be good. Again, now you're talking like the guy got down here in the bottom corner there. We got Daniel Radcliffe, right? Down there. Like, since Harry Potter, he hasn't been able to really break out big. Well, yeah, but he had no career before Harry Potter. So it's not like, I mean, he was a child. So it's not like he had this hot career, then did this big franchise, and that ended his career, right? So you got to take a step back and look at a sort of bigger picture. But then, you know, you look at guys like Harrison Ford, who was in a couple of big major franchises, and yet he had a very long, very prolific, very successful, award-nominated laden career. And, you know, and he was in major franchises. So, I mean, look, it's very, 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 very difficult to make it as an actor in Hollywood. It's even rarer to hit it big and maintain a big presence in Hollywood. It's basically impossible. It's almost impossible to do. So I just think we're kind of looking to pigeonhole reasons why some actors are big one moment and not big the next, but I don't really think there's a cause and effect there per se. I don't really think there's a cause and effect. All right, let's move on now to the final emailed in question today. And the final emailed question in today comes to us from The World of Five, who writes, early box office projections, thanks to Box Office Pro, has Solo opening with a $150 million debut and finishing around $390 million domestically. I know these are early projections and don't really mean anything right now, but what do you think Solo will open up to? I saw this report, and my jaw dropped. Because I've been telling you guys the story for a little while now that I've got two friends in the film industry who know the film industry inside out and backwards. They're very tightly connected in the film industry. And they're usually bang on with their predictions. But one of them is predicting that Solo is going to open to $50 million opening weekend. One was predicting it was going to open to $150 million. And I thought both of them were crazy. I thought it was going to really be somewhere closer to the middle. Maybe just shy of 100 million, maybe 100 million, right? But I saw that report and I had to grab my phone and text my buddy who was the one predicting it's going to hit 150 million. I'm like, well, they're now saying it's tracking at 150 million. I'm shocked. I really am. I'm shocked. Now, the overall domestic, when it says it's guessing to make $390 million domestically, that's an impossible number because we just don't know how good or bad the movie is. If the movie sucks, it's going to be much lower. If the movie's great, it could be way higher, so that's irrelevant. Opening weekend is all about the buzz. Opening weekend is just about buzz. But I'm going to tell you, I have been surprised. This is not the first thing about Solo that surprised me. I remember when the first Solo trailer came out. And I was like, okay, yeah, I like it. But I didn't think anybody else really would. And I wasn't jumping over the moon about it. You know, I liked it. I liked the Solo trailer. But I was not jumping over the moon about it. So, flash forward now a little bit. And I'm at opening night. Not the premiere, that was earlier. But I'm at opening night at my local theater for Black Panther. And the place is packed. And they show a bunch of high-profile trailers, right? And the audience is buzzing because they're there to see Black Panther, and there's some excitement about the trailers. But then the Solo trailer came on, and that theater went bananas. And I'm sitting there going, Really? Really? But everybody was losing their minds for the Solo trailer. And what? Really? Like, I was shocked and confused. I'm like, well, even, like, I'm a Star Wars nerd, so obviously I'm kind of excited about it, but even I wasn't jumping over the movie. I was not expecting, I'll be honest with you, I might have even been expecting a few groans from the audience, but the audience went bananas. Went to see it again the next night, same thing happened. And I remember talking to Anne, like, what? Like, I was shocked that the audience responded that positively. Still didn't think $150 million opening weekend was in the realm of possibility for a Solo movie, because who was asking for a Solo movie? Nobody. And yet, here we are. So I'm going to be honest with you. If this movie actually does open to $150 million, color me shocked. I'm shocked on this one, if it does. Now, granted, we're still quite a ways away from the movie opening. A lot can happen in the next trailer. Who knows? That number could even go up. Maybe it comes down a little bit. I don't know. But the fact that it's tracking at that, I mean, okay, for a couple of reasons. Number one, who was asking for a Solo movie? Pretty much nobody. Number two, it's coming just 6 months after another Star Wars movie. Number three, you've got the thing about, well, it's not Harrison Ford playing Solo. And on top of all of that, there's a good number of people, a lot of us loved The Last Jedi, but there's a good number of people who didn't love The Last Jedi and like to whine and bitch about it online, just like we all like to whine and bitch about movies we don't like, but there's a bunch of people who like to whine and bitch about Star Wars The Last Jedi. And it's just, all of that together led me to believe we're probably looking like an 80, 85, 90, maybe $100 million opening weekend. $150 million? I don't know. I mean, like I said, I'm just shocked. Just fully admitting here, I am shocked by that. So what do you guys think? You think it actually is going to come in at that? Let's wait and find out as we get a little bit closer. Okay, guys, with all that out of the way, let's now go over to the live question you guys have been sending in. You guys have been jumping in with a bunch of live questions. I got through just as many as I can here. And we start things off with Chris Miner, who writes, about to take a date to Ready Player One. Wish me luck. Good luck, man. Have a great time. I'm really excited you get to see it, and it's a good date movie. It's a really good date movie. Next up, Matthew Carrera writes, John, have you seen the Spielberg documentary from HBO? It's super interesting, and they show you how he incorporates his personal experiences into every movie. Love it. Well, I've known about that. Like, I'm a huge Spielberg nerd, and yet I still have not watched this HBO documentary. I still haven't. I keep forgetting about it, and then when I do think about it, I don't have time to sit down and watch it. Considering he's my all-time favorite filmmaker, you'd think I would have watched this thing about 20 times by now. Yet I haven't. So no, I still haven't sat down to watch the damn thing. I'm going to have to do that soon, though, because, again, to me, he is the GOAT. Steven Spielberg is the undisputed, irrefutable GOAT when it comes to being the best filmmaker of all time. Matthew Carrera also writes again, favorite Spielberg movie, not the best, your favorite, Amistad. I talk about that all the time. I also think it's clearly his most underrated film. Is Amistad. I think that movie is freaking genius. I've never felt that movie gets the credit or the attention it deserves. It's the movie that introduced us to Djimon Hounsou, who is now the pursuer in Guardians of the Galaxy and is going to be in Captain Marvel now. Such a terrific cast, such a powerful story. It's just brilliant. If you haven't seen Amistad, treat yourself and watch Amistad. I think it's his best movie. It is my favorite Spielberg movie. AFC writes, Thor 2, Jane goes to Asgard and no issues with oxygen. Would there be issues with oxygen? I mean, Asgard is also covered in a lot of trees, so you'd figure there'd be oxygen production. So, am I missing something? Why wouldn't there be oxygen? So, I don't think that's a problem, unless I'm missing something, unless I'm forgetting something major, but I don't see why that was a problem. Miles Pardo writes, for you, is F1/NASCAR, etc. a sport or a game? It's not a sport. I do not consider NASCAR a sport. You have to be an athlete to do a sport, and that's more like a contest. And again, that's not me any disrespect, any more than any disrespect on people who play darts, any disrespect on these insane people who are crazy skilled at bowling. I mean, these are games that require incredible heights of skill, but you don't need to be an athlete to do it. So that's just kind of my definition. So I personally don't consider F1 or NASCAR a sport. It's some kind of contest. I don't know that I'd either call it a game either, per se. I'm not quite sure what I'd call NASCAR or car racing, things like that. I just know I don't call it a sport. And again, that's not me casting any shade on it. It's amazing for what it is. I can't do what those people do. That's nuts. But I still don't call it a sport. I mean, so there you go. But that's just my definition. Doesn't mean you have to agree with me. Not at all. Shannon Terry writes, should J-Law be more picky with her movie roles? I don't know. I think she is pretty picky. Look, you had a lot. Let's take Mother, for example. You had a lot of Hollywood A-listers lining up to work with Soderbergh to make that movie. Soderbergh. Hold a second. Sorry. Why am I ditching on this thing? You had... you had a whole bunch, because you had Jennifer Lawrence, you had Ed Harris, you had Michelle Pfeiffer, you had Donald Gleason in there, Javier Bardem, and I said Soderbergh, I meant Aronofsky. You had people lining up. It was this crazy auteur thing, and I could totally see the appeal for being in that. I mean, to me, it was a disaster of a movie, but it, just like that, could have been like an Oscar darling movie at the same time. But like every movie you're in is a risk. But I totally see why she and Javier Bardem and Ed Harris and Michelle Pfeiffer, I totally see why any of them joined up for that movie. Totally do. Red Sparrow wasn't bad. Red Sparrow's not bad. I mean, look, it's a badass female lead, thriller kind of a movie. I'm sure the script read great. I mean, hey, but look, every movie you are in is a risk. And every movie you are in, you hope is going to be good, and hope is going to be a real thing. And I think Sparrow had a lot of potential. It didn't live up to it, but Sparrow had a lot of potential. So I really don't have a lot of criticism for the movies that Jennifer Lawrence has chosen to be in, because they look like sound bets. And even when you make sound bets, you could still lose. And she's been in a couple of films that have not won. She's been in a couple of films that have not lived up to their potential. But you can't really worry about that. All you can do is, do I put myself in a position to succeed? And I think hooking yourself up with an Aronofsky film is definitely putting yourself in a position to succeed. Hooking yourself up in the lead major role in a film like Red Sparrow, you are positioning yourself for success, but it doesn't always work out. So I really don't blame her for the role choice there. Okay, let's move on. Jacob Bartley writes, you've said before you don't like Troy. Why? Because I don't think it's a very good movie. Just that simple. Matthew Carrera writes, by the way, that most anticipated video this morning was a good idea. Maybe you can do that for each month. Puts a lot of movies on my radar. Yeah, for those of you who don't know what he's talking about, early this morning, I posted a video called Top 9 Most Anticipated Movies for April. Because, hey, we all know about Avengers, but there's a bunch of other movies that I think are worth checking out and worth keeping our eye on. So I put this little video together, Top 9 Most Anticipated Movies for April. And it is funny that I've had a number of people already emailed me today saying, I didn't even know this movie, and this movie were coming out. I had never even heard of them, blah, blah. And that's awesome. Now they're on your radar. I mean, I even had somebody write me today saying, I didn't even know they were making a Super Troopers 2, let alone the fact that it was coming out this month, which is great. So that video is on my channel. Just go to my YouTube channel, and it should be the main video at the top right now. So you can go and check that out. And I think I will. I think I'll do not just that every month, but I think I'll do more videos like that as well. So thank you for your input. I appreciate that, Matthew. Let's see. Nathan Oswald writes, is Men in Black 23 not going to happen? Doesn't look like it. For those of you who don't know what MIB 23 is, it was the proposed crossover film of Men in Black and 21 Jump Street. And they came close to making that happen. To having, Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill with their 21 Jump Street characters meeting the Men in Black organization and doing a crossover of MIB 23. It was an idea that everybody, when it first leaked out that they were thinking about it, that everybody guffawed at. But after everybody laughed about it, including me, about 5 minutes later started going, that was so stupid. Well, actually, wait a minute. That could actually be kind of brilliant. I mean, it felt like across, like, most of my colleagues in the movie Predatory world, we were all the same. Like, at first we were all, oh my God, are they that stupid that they actually do something like that? And then we all thought about it for 5 minutes and we're like, you know what? That could actually work. That could be secretly genius if they did something like that. And all of a sudden, and then I found that the general movie-going audience, or the general online film fan community, started doing the same thing. Like, everybody was laughing at it and guffawing at it, saying, oh, that's so stupid. But after about a couple of weeks, all that buzz online started to turn positive. And they started getting a lot of messages about people going, I'm actually looking forward to this now. It was really crazy. Apparently, that's now off the table. From what I understand, the idea is not dead. The idea is not dead. But as of right now, there are no plans for them to actually make that movie. They're of course moving forward. We know that Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson, it looks like they're going to be in a new Men in Black franchise. But it doesn't mean the MIB-23 idea is dead. There's just no plans for it right now. And it may never happen. Probably will never happen, but who knows? All right. Michael Ginyard writes, hey, John, I saw the Scooby Natural. Oh, God, that was so good. I haven't seen the cartoon in 30 years. It took me back to when I was a kid. My favorite was Dean eye-banging Daphne. Guys, Supernatural crossover with Scooby-Doo, also known as Scooby Natural, was one of my favorite television viewing experiences of my life. It was everything I was hoping it would be. As a fan of Supernatural, as a little kid growing up watching Scooby-Doo, it was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. I loved that episode. It was, and you know, it's hard because we've been talking about it and buzzing about it for a year. So it's going to be hard to live up to the hype. And then it happened, and I'm like, totally in. Totally in. That thing was so good. And I'm not going to give anything in it away. I was grinning like an idiot, ear to ear. I'm sitting down on my couch, just pure joy watching it. It was so good. It was so great. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, go check it out. And yeah, all the Daphne stuff, and like hearing the mystery gang going, Jinkies, yikes, and then go to Dean, son of a bitch. It was just like, it was fabulous. It was great. I loved it. KW Garrett 83 writes, which director with only one good movie is more likely to have a comeback, Neil Blomkamp or the Wachowskis? By the way, fan name, Movie Campions. Too long. I think that's too long for a quick little name. Well, you can make an argument the Wachowskis have made more than one good movie. I mean, I'm not a fan of Tom Hanks' Cloud Atlas. I'm not a fan of Cloud Atlas, but I think the majority of people did like Cloud Atlas. I was definitely not a fan of Speed Racer. I thought Speed Racer was quite bad, to be honest with you. But I know some people that really like Speed Racer, and that's fine too. Jupiter Ascending is one of the worst abortions of a movie ever. I mean, it's just, oh God, I get angry just thinking about that movie. But Cloud Atlas, not bad. Like I said, the majority of people seem to like Cloud Atlas, so I wouldn't say they just have one. It's fair to say they only have one beloved film, and that's The Matrix. So we'll give it that. Which one of them have a better chance of a comeback? I think Blomkamp does. I mean, Chappie was ass. Elysium was a big disappointment to me. But, you know, he showed a lot of brilliance with District 9. Now, granted, he had Peter Jackson holding his hand to make that feature film. Fine. But, you know, he showed a lot with District 9. And while I would not be jumping up and down about the next Neil Blomkamp movie, because, like I said, I was quite let down by his last two, I would definitely be curious, and I think he's got another good one in him. I do. So I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if you're going to ask me which one, 5 years from now, could we be talking about as a hot director or director duo, Blomkamp or the Wachowskis, I'm going to lean towards Blomkamp on that one. Let's see. Adam Griffin writes, when do you think we will see a new Muppets movie? Oh, I remember there was talking about it for a while, but, the last one they did not do great. So, I don't know. It could be a while. It could be a while before we see another one, which is really too bad. But, I'm not expecting one anytime soon, to be honest. Quite frankly, Right now it looks like the Henson Company is really more focused right now on getting that Dark Crystal Netflix series together, which is all I care about. And if you got to put off another Muppet movie, and I adore the Muppets, but if you got to put off another Muppet movie by 15 or 20 years to make sure, keep your attention focused on this Dark Crystal series you're doing, keep your focus on the Dark Crystal series. Damn right. Yeah, you keep your attention on the Dark Crystal. That's where I want their attention right now. So they're probably not even thinking about Muppets right now. Now watch tomorrow, they're going to announce a new Muppet movie. Next one comes to us from Ben Rayner, who writes, I know I'm in the minority, but I love Jar Jar Binks. He's like my favorite Star Wars character. So misunderstood and comedic genius. Like I said, I know I'm in the minority. And by the way, April Fools. Ben, you can't do April Fools when it's not April 1st. Come on, man. You know the rules. You cannot do an April Fool's when it's not April 1st. Come on, dude. You're better than that. You know that. Come on. Let's see. Oops, big jump in the thing there. Okay, next one comes to us from Adam Griffin, who writes, why do you think Disney hasn't attempted to make any feature-length animated movies based on Mickey Mouse and gang? IP and brand recognition is off the charts. Yes, but Mickey Mouse is their most vital IP. You can have Star Wars, you can have the Avengers, you can have all that stuff. Disney is about Mickey Mouse. I know that sounds funny to say that, but Mickey Mouse is Disney. You cannot risk that IP. You cannot risk, because Mickey Mouse is the physical manifestation representation of Disney. You cannot roll the dice and take a risk with Mickey Mouse. Because you make a Mickey Mouse movie and it's not received well, you've now not just damaged that one particular IP, you've damaged the perception of the entire empire. And if you're an exec, if you're Bob Iger, I don't care if Kevin Feige, Steven Spielberg, and Guillermo del Toro all walk into your office holding hands going, we together have the greatest idea in the world for a Mickey Mouse movie. If I'm Bob Iger, it's like, shh, just stop right there, guys. It ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. You cannot risk the PR of that character, Mickey Mouse. You cannot put that character at risk in any way, shape, or form. It's just wait for what? One hit movie that's going to make $500 million. Okay, that's great. We have a multi-billion-dollar empire that is represented by Mickey Mouse. You can't do it. You just can't. So that's why I don't think they've done it. That's why I don't think they're going to do it. Phil Lee, over under 10%. AntMan is actually Pym in Infinity War. I'll take the under. You know what, Phil, though, it's an interesting theory. That's not a conversation I've heard anybody have. It's an interesting proposition. I will still take the under on it, but it's a fascinating proposition that I haven't heard anybody else say, and I'd have to consider that. Maybe if you ask me again tomorrow, and there's no show tomorrow, but maybe if you ask me again tomorrow, I might take the over on 10. For now, I'll take the under, but it's a fascinating notion that I had not considered before. Chris Warden writes, happy belated birthday to Anne. Hope you spoiled her. Well, her birthday's actually on Monday, but this is her birthday weekend. So we're going away this weekend, but her actual birthday is Monday, but I will be sure to pass along happy birthday to her. Hans Gruber writes, how many times per day do you say your name? I probably say my name once, twice, probably about 5 times per show when you're talking about the intros and the outros, then about 3 videos per day. So probably 15 to 20 times a day I got to say my own name. I really should start going by my real name. For those of you who don't know, and I'm sure many of you do, my real name is actually Giovanni. That's actually my real name. I'm named after my grandfather. But my grandfather, when he came over on the boat, he went by John just to kind of more blend in with the new culture when he came over from Italy. And he brought my dad over and all that kind of... My dad came over when he was a teenager, I believe. And my dad's name's Pasquale, so they just had everybody call him Pat. It's what they call my dad, but my dad's name is Pasquale. And I was named after my grandfather. And my real name's Giovanni. And just there's so many Johns. John is this most boring common name. I'm proud of it because my grandfather is a great man. And my grandfather's story, I'm going off on a sidetrack here, but my grandfather, every year that I go home for Christmas, and we will always take one night when we go home for Christmas to go over to my grandparents' house and sit down. And it's become like a tradition for me where every year I ask my grandparents to tell me the story of my grandfather coming over. It's an awesome story. My grandfather's a great man. And I'm sure many of us have grandparents with similar stories, but, you know, work was hard to come by in Calabria. You know, he was living in Italy. He came over to Canada to try to, you know, develop and like make a new life. And he had to leave my grandmother and his kids behind so he can come out here and try to get something established and settled. Then brought them over. Just a great, and the life he made for himself and the path that he laid out for my dad and my aunts and uncles it's just a great story. I love hearing it every year. But anyway, I never go by my name Giovanni. Maybe I should start going. I've toyed with that for a few years about just, you know what? Forget the John Campea Show. Forget all that. I'm just going to start going by Giovanni. I never done it because I think at this point everybody just knows me as John. So, but I don't know. It's still something I toy with. Alexander Helmer, and I've only got about 5 minutes left here, guys. And again, anything I don't get to, don't worry. It'll be included in the next companion video. So if you've sent in a live question here and I don't get to it, it will be included in the next companion video. Maybe Sunday night, maybe tomorrow night. If not, then it'll be in the one that comes on Monday. So don't worry about that. Alexander Helmer writes, meeting Bautista at AwesomeCon soon. Love his work. Oh, I love Dave Bautista. I love Dave Bautista. I've had a chance to talk to him and meet him a couple of times. I don't know that he would remember me from, from a hole in the wall at this point, but he was a part of our, when I did that 24-hour marathon to support the victims of the typhoon in the Philippines, he was like the first celeb to jump up and say, yeah, what do you need me to do? I just said, record a message. And he recorded a message for it, which was great. And I'm a big fan of Dave Bautista's, really, really big fan of his. I just think he's one of the nicest, most authentic, sincere guys in the business. I really do. Let's see. Sam Fisher writes, my dad has that extreme spoiler point of view, but with baseball. Like, I can't even tell him who the home and away team is, even though he already knows. Yeah, I mean, that's just it, right, Sam? I mean, a lot of people people have their own definition of things and what's important to them and what isn't, so it's hard to keep track of all that. Yang writes, hey, John, just got paid, so wanted to contribute to your show. Oh, thank you so much, Yang. I appreciate that. Happy Easter, and keep up the great work. You make my days at work easier. Well, thank you so much, man. And it's not just me. It's the rest of the film fan community here doing it. Thank you for contributing to it and being part of the reason why this thing can even exist. So thank you so much for that, Yang. Have a great day, your next day at work, and enjoy your Easter as well. Phil Lee writes, possible Supernatural spoilers. What are the saddest deaths in Supernatural? Ooh, mine are Charlie, Felicia Day. That was a tough one. And Ellen Joe, mom-daughter team, totally unexpected. Yup and yup. Here's the thing. The part of the reason why the Felicia Day one was both sad was because it was so surprising. Felicia Day was becoming like, not a regular, but a recurring character that seemed to have a great chemistry with the guys, that was fun and spunky, and everybody just likes Felicia Day anyway. And it was a really great character. And then when they killed her character off, it was like out of nowhere. And I was like, whoa! And partially, it coming so out of nowhere is kind of what made it effective. The Ellen Joe one was great. I would say the Bobby one, but they've killed Bobby like 4 times, so it's kind of like the MCU fake does. I don't get worried about any character dying in the MCU because at some point they're just gonna be back anyway. But the Bobby was definitely a tough one. Crowley for me was tough because Crowley was like one of my top 5 favorite characters on television. There have been a lot. There's definitely been a lot of characters. Other than Sam and Dean, don't get too attached to any character in Supernatural. All right, 2 more, then we got to call it a day, guys. Phil Lee writes, Uwe Boll, best director without an Oscar. Well, if you ask Uwe Boll, he'll probably absolutely say yes. Let's see. Holy G Buzz writes, love your show, John. Thank you so much, man. Watch it every day. Have you ever watched Into the Badlands? It's a post-apocalyptic and has great kung fu action and pretty good. No, but you are not the only person to tell me that. And it is one that I've got to watch. And I've actually had a friend of mine direct 1 or 2 episodes. So I am definitely got to check that out. And again, you're not the first person to tell me about that. All right, guys, that'll do it for today's Saturday installment of the John Campea Show. Thanks so much for being here, guys. Now, listen, for those of you who didn't hear me mention this off the top of the show, this is the last video for the weekend. But by all means, go back and check out that top 9 April movies list video I put up earlier today. But it is Anne's, my wife's, birthday weekend. After I'm done the show, we're packing up, going down to San Diego, hang out there just for a couple of days. So there's not going to be a John Campea Show tomorrow, and there's not going to be a Star Wars talk tomorrow. I know that makes 2 weeks in a row with no Star Wars talk. I apologize about that, but the wife's birthday comes first. So I got to do that. And I'll be back again on Saturday. As always, if you're not subscribed to this YouTube channel, click that subscribe button. And when you subscribe, and even if you're already subscribed, make sure you click that little bell button to make sure you get notifications when new videos go up as well. Click the thumbs up on this video, share it around. Make sure you leave your thoughts and opinions on any or all the topics we discuss here today in the comments section below. And guys, make sure you're following me on Twitter if you're not yet. Just follow me on Twitter, simply @JohnCampea. That'll do it for me for today, guys. Thanks so much for joining me. My name's Giovanni Campea, and until the next video, bye-bye.